Hello, good afternoon, everyone, my lovely audience. A very, very warm welcome to this show. This is a webinar that I'm presenting on the brilliant tips that you can use for public speaking. I am Shalini Mukund. I am the founder of the company called Magic. I started it on my own. I'm an educator turned author turned entrepreneur, and I'm a public speaking coach. So now I will be taking you through a few slides in the PPT presentation where I'm going to talk about some tips on public speaking and how this whole idea of public speaking is not a very dangerous myth but a very beautiful reality. All right, so are you good to go? And here is the presentation. All right. So this is what I am. Welcome once again. Like I told you, I'm the founder of Magic, and this is what I am. So let me just start with a story on what happened many years back. So there was this young girl who was in grade 11, and she had to do a poetry recitation. And when she took the paper and went on the stage, her hands started shivering and her knees started trembling. And at that time, the paper was kind of flying away from her hands. And at that point of time, the English teacher came up to the stage, put her hands around this girl's arms, and both of them read the piece of poetry together. This girl felt a lot more confident because there was someone to support her, and that's how the whole audience clapped for them. Now, in case you are wondering who that young girl was, it was none other than me. And to tell you my brief, that I was a very, very shy kid. And what I am today, speaking in front of such a huge, lovely audience, is something, a path that I have carved on my own. So, my dear friends, moving on, glossophobia. Just a minute. Glossophobia. Now, this is the term that is now being used for the fear of public speaking. And as you can see, it is something which is very, very doable. How many of you have felt weak in your knees when you have gone up the stage and you are like, oh my God, I have to face such a huge audience in front of me? So many millions of eyes looking at me? How many of you have had many, many, many butterflies in your stomach? I'm sure that is quite possible for each one of us when we go up the stage and we have to deliver in front of a very large audience. But it is something which we can really work upon. The good news, like I would like to share with you all, is public speaking need not be a quality that we have to inherit from our DNA. So, dear friends, it can be acquired with consistent practice, courage, and determination. These are the three golden mantras that you need to use to overcome your fear of public speaking. A lot of research has also shown that many skills in life are acquired. Like human beings are not born with all the skills that need to be developed in this one lifetime. So many skills are acquired, and public speaking is a skill you can definitely acquire if you use these three mantras: consistent practice, courage, and determination. Let me tell you another story. Now, I have two, three stories to share with you, and I hope those stories are really meaningful to you. Now, we have heard the story of the monkey and the crocodile and the cap seller and the monkeys, but this is a very different story. It's called The Monkeys and the Lion. So, there was this huge jungle, a very, very, very big forest, lush green trees, lot of wilderness in and around. And there was this huge tree in the middle of the forest. And on top of the tree, there were these monkeys who were happily jumping and partying and eating the fruits and the berries and whatever they could lay their hands on. Down the tree was a lion who was very hungry, very angry, because he had not got any meal to eat for a long time. And he was wondering, he was thinking how he could make one of those monkeys as a yummy meal for himself, a delicious meal for himself. The monkeys were very aware of the fact that the lion cannot climb the tree. That too, it was a very big tree, a very tall tree. They knew it for sure that the lion would not be able to climb up the tree and catch them. And so they were happily partying around. The lion, after a long wait, decided to do something, and that was he roared and he growled and he made such a noise that a few monkeys, out of the fear of that voice, just fell down from the tree, plop. And this lion caught hold of one plump monkey for his delicious meal. And in that fear, the others quickly ran up to the tree. The story is not about, like, I'm trying to tell you a folk tale or a fairy tale about, or panchatantra stories about monkeys and a lion. The important thing here to look into is conditioned thinking. The monkeys were actually conditioned. They were wired in such a way that the moment they heard the sound of the lion, they just fell down. Whereas they had all the facilities, they had all the resources just to be up on the tree and hang on to the tree. But what happened was they were conditioned to that sound, and the fear of that conditioned thinking made them fall down. So, my dear friends, if we have conditioned thinking, if we have barriers in our mind that we cannot do certain things, definitely that is only going to lead to conditioned results and nothing else. What do we need to do for that? We need to break the chain of our conditioned thinking. We break the set pattern of our thoughts and achieve more success. So, just to tell you a small thing, that if anyone ever comes up to you and tells you, hey, you're not so good on stage, or hey, I don't think you have great stage presence, although you have a really good command over language. That is the kind of conditioned thinking we try to live in. Somebody tries to tell us that we are not good, and we believe in that. Once we break that chain of flow of thoughts, what happens is we definitely get or achieve very, very good results. Now, the $1,000,000 question: is public speaking doable? The answer: yes, yes, yes. And as you can see in the slide picture there, the power of saying yes to yourself. You don't have to say to yes to others. You have to say, yes, I can do it, to yourself. Many times we get into this audio digital mode, self talk. We call it as self talk. Constantly, when we are not talking to others, we are talking to ourselves. Okay, this is what I need to do in the morning. This is what I need to prepare for the day. Find out ways on how you can do a lot of positive self talk. So, to just tell you a very simple example, if you just use these words, I can, that itself is very, very powerful. So, remember, my dear friends, when you're doing self talk, do it the positive way. You are your own asset, you are your own precious property. Make sure when you talk to yourself, it is always and always and always positive. Remember, there is a lot of power in saying yes. How do we do it now? Now I'm going to share with you certain tips on becoming a really fine and very, very good public speaker. Rule number one. Now we know that if we need to practice something and if we have to get better at something, we have to have certain rules. For example, if I want a really fit body, I need to do exercise every day. If I have to keep my mind very calm, I need to practice meditation every day. So public speaking also has a few rules. But the good point here is those rules are very, very doable. So, the first and the foremost rule is you must know your audience very well. The more we find out about our audience we are catering to, the better our content and our delivery will be. So, before we go up the stage, we'll have to do a little background research of who our audience is and what kind of people we are catering to, so that we can customize and we can prepare a speech or a talk accordingly. Rule number 2, make your introductions very, very, very peppy. Now, some of these interesting introductions could be: always start with a personal story, like I did with you. Personal stories have a really great impact. When you have prepared a speech and you know you have done your job very well, but still, while going up the stage, you're shivering and you know, oh my God, these things are coming to your mind. What if I forget my lines? What if I forget my speech? Okay. And those thoughts keep haunting you. Forget about all that and start with a personal story. When you tell a personal story to the audience on the topic that was given to you or that you have chosen, or the audience that you're catering to, it has a really great impact and it kind of loosens you up. You're much more comfortable on the stage when you start with a personal story. The second, one of the best ideas could be: look around and get ideas connected to the environment to begin with. Now, I am kind of thankful to the pandemic in some way that I am able to reach out to my audience at least through the online platform. Whereas, much as I would desire it to be an offline thing, and the physical presence of people really pumps you up, I believe that this is still a greater platform to connect. But praying that the COVID scenario ends soon and all the budding public speakers or all the people who are venturing out into this new journey of self discovery can always get connected to people looking around for ideas from the environment. So, certain simple things that you could do is: supposing it's an event, you are in a mehendi ceremony or you are in a sangeet ceremony of your friend or your audience, what you could do is, when you are anchoring, you just have to kind of ask questions like: how many women are wearing red color saris today, or how many men are in black coats, or how many different colors of flowers you saw while walking up to this stage. So you could build on those questions. You remember the Queen Sheba games that we would play when we were children? Think on those lines and you could connect with the audience talking about the environment. If you don't have to play quiz games, you could also go ahead and say, hey, the weather is so nice today. Wow, this monsoon, it makes me feel so good. And the rain and the smell of the rain, you can build on things like that. Number 3, very important, add humor. The audience just loves it, and convey the message subtly through it. Now, here the whole idea is, I'm not telling you make your content too humorous so that the actual matter of it fizzles away. That's not what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is, when we look at Shah Rukh Khan doing the anchoring for Filmfare Awards, my God, he has such a great sense of humor. So when you add humor, what happens is the audience connects with you better and they become a part of your content, your journey of delivering it. So add humor. It's also a very important tool to loosen up the speaker. And above all these, if nothing works, you can just say, or you could just probably say, hey, I'm just one among you, and this is my first time. So you can imagine how I must be feeling or how it must be feeling. This kind of a sentence is not to gain sympathy. Do not misinterpret this as sympathy. This is to connect with the audience. So when the audience is looking at you, some people in the audience must think in a particular pattern. And they think in this way: hey, that's the guy, who made it to the stage. And wow, look at him. He's scared, but he's not showing it and he's connecting with us. So you don't know how you spark that light in the millions of people who are looking at you and how you're motivating them in your own way to take up public speaking. Rule number 3, gap fillers. Avoid gap fillers. This is a very important aspect. People use words such as and, so, hence, probably, and many such words as gap fillers, like given in the slide here. Avoid them because gap fillers actually take away the essence of the wonderful content that you have to deliver. And it also somewhere shows there is lack in vocabulary. So try and avoid using gap fillers as much as you can. It can pop out somewhere in between. That's okay. But don't make it like very obvious that the content is full of gap fillers and not the real content. So you can work on that. Rule number 4, prepare and practice your content well. Practice, practice, practice. We all have heard this proverb, practice makes a man perfect. Now, practice makes a public speaking person perfect, would be my new quote. An excellent preparation leads to a great and fantastic performance. So, practice it, what you have prepared, practice it as many times till you are very comfortable that you would deliver a really good speech or content on stage. Why this is important? It reduces less chance of error occurrence and more confidence while public speaking. It reduces many such gap fillers. It also builds a lot of stage presence. So make sure you practice your content well and you deliver it well. Some tools that you could practice well are, you could do it in front of the mirror. The mirror image is the best technique. As it goes even today, the saying holds good. Practice it in front of the mirror. Or what you could do is you could call a few friends, or you could sit in front of someone who is ready to listen to you non-judgmentally, who's ready to listen to you wholeheartedly with his full eyes and ears. That kind of people also give you really good feedback. Rule number 5, work on good expression, tone, and voice modulation. Word stress, I'll come to this. Tone mix, eye contact with the audience. It's very important you need to have eye contact with the audience. Now, some of these body language things that I would like to tell you are, you cannot look down when you're facing the audience because that shows that you are inconfident. You have to use the stage. So move across the stage, not like you circle the whole stage, but you move across the stage in such a way that you are able to connect to the wide spectrum of audience. Also, like you can see in the picture, when you're sitting and giving a presentation, if you keep your hands folded, legs folded, those are signs that show unfriendliness or anxiety. Keep your arms open, keep a smile on your face always, because even your body language adds up to your confidence. Now, what did I mean by word stress? I have put an example there with a sentence which reads, wow, the weather is amazing. Now, this can be said in different ways to create different kind of impact. So I could say, wow, the weather is amazing. The emphasis on the word weather. Or I could say, wow, the weather is amazing. Or the third one would be, wow, the weather is amazing. So, what happens is you understood that when the third time I spoke the sentence, it had a really greater impact. So, make sure when you're preparing in front of the mirror or in front of your friends, make sure that the stress on the words are correct, because then only you are delivering a proper message to the audience. If your stress on the words go wrong, or if you lay on incorrect stress of words, what happens is you are not able to convey the right thing to the audience in the way which you had prepared. What is there in your mind should reach out to them. That kind of transparency you need to have when you're delivering your content. So make sure you stress on the right words because they create the correct impact. The mix of tone, the rise and fall of tone, which we call intonation, make sure your rise and fall of tone is correct. Eye contact with the audience. Do not sit with your hands and your legs crossed. Keep them open. And above all, the best you can do to contact with them in a much better way is keep up your wonderful smile always. Each human being is unique. Now, these are some useful tips to practice every day. Like I said, if you want to have a very fit body, or if you want to be one of the famous authors, or if you want to develop a skill, something like, say, cooking or driving, we need to practice every day. So, some of the useful tips to practice are: we must read, read, and once we read, we need to write. Now, I am not talking about whatever we read, we need to write. What I'm talking about is make a note of new words and use them in a new context or new script. So read and write, because writing is 10 times to reading. The more we write, the more we remember. Even today, I prepare my notes, I prepare what I have to speak in front of people. So that writing really gives you a very, very good idea on what you're going to do next. Like I mentioned, practice in front of the mirror, the best proven technique so far, because what you see in the mirror is your own reflection. So you will exactly work on your eye movements, your lip movements, and your body language and everything. Also, practice in front of people, like I mentioned, whom you are comfortable with, so that they can give you a listening ear non judgmentally, without comprehending anything, with a free flow of mind. They give you their best comments. And on top of that, work on the feedback given. When they give you feedback, when they tell you, you need to work on this particular word, you have to pronounce this better, or you need to have more eye contact with the audience, work on those ideas of feedback. The more we work on feedback, the more we get better when we go up the next time. So, feedback is not something like I heard from a friend of mine many years ago, throwing tomatoes and onions at the audience. It's not that. Feedback is all about what you do with the comments that you have received and how you work on them. And yes, the last story which I would like to share with you, and I'm sure many of you already know it, because this story keeps popping up in WhatsApp messages and on Facebook and Instagram and whatnot. The power of self belief. The power of belief that leads to the power of self belief. Because, like you can see in the picture, success starts with believing in yourself. Say yes to yourself. When Edison was a young kid, one day he came back from school and he told his mother that he was sent home early with a letter. The teacher had given him a letter, and that letter she had told him that only his mother could read. So, like a very good boy, obedient child, he did not open to read that letter. He just handed over the letter to his mother. When the mother opened the letter and she read that, tears started flowing down her eyes. She was very, very emotional. When Edison asked her, "What is it that the teacher has written in the letter that is making you cry?" She said, "The teacher told, or she's written, that you are a fantastic kid. You are way above intelligent than the other kids. So they cannot keep you in that school because that school is meant for children who are with average mental abilities. So they have requested me to remove you from that school and put in a different school that suited your needs better." Saying so, what did the mother do? She folded the letter and she put it in one of her drawers under her pile of clothes. Now years went by, and after that particular letter, the mother started educating the child and he got into homeschooling. And together, the mother and the son, they did a lot of experiments and other things, science to math to English to everything. Years passed, and Edison's mother passed away, and he became a big scientist, like we know the story. He invented the light bulb. But one day, it so happened that he was searching for something, and when he happened to look into the pile of clothes of his mother, he saw that letter. It was many years by then. The letter had actually changed its color. It was kind of brown and looked very old, but he was still very curious to open the letter and read. And when he opened that letter, what it said was something like this: the teacher had written to the mother saying, "Your child is mentally retarded. He's not able to cope up with the subjects in the school. He's very dull in his IQ. He's not able to match up to the students who are here. So we request you that you will have to pull out your child from this school and put him in a different school. When he read that letter, he became so emotional that he started crying. And when he started crying, one thought that popped up in his mind was Edison was a dull boy who became a genius because his mother believed so. So, dear friends, the power of self belief is immense. I'm sure you would have come across this particular message or this picture on WhatsApp or Facebook many times. There is this cat which is looking at itself in a mirror and it wants to paint its picture. But the picture that it is painting is that of a lion. So there is immense power in self belief. The more you believe in yourself, the more you're going to do that. So the opposite theory to the theory of conditioned thinking is the power of self belief. And thank you so much for listening to me patiently. Now I would be really happy to answer your questions. I'm really happy to answer your questions. Any questions, please? You could ask me. Yes, there is this wonderful question. Should you memorize your entire presentation? If you can, like some people are really blessed with good memory, so they can remember everything from A to Z. But I was one such person who could not remember the A to Z of the social science textbook or the science textbook. So what happened was I actually prepared my points. I'm always in the habit of preparing my own points and speaking that in my own language. So it is not important to memorize the whole presentation because it is not possible that you'll remember each and every word of what you have written. But yes, you should have the knack of presenting your points in a very convincing way. That is more important because the human mind is also such that it cannot process everything at one go and you will only remember bits and chunks of it. What is important is good language and vocabulary through which you can present your points. That is very important. Thank you for asking that. It's a wonderful question. Is it okay to read from notes during a presentation? Yes, absolutely. Even the best speakers, if you have seen Shah Rukh Khan, I feel that he's one of the really very good speakers. If you have seen Amitabh Bachchan, I just came across one video that was sent to me as a WhatsApp forward, where even Mr. Bachchan is looking into the speech that he had prepared. He even quotes from his father's poems, the book that his father had written, Madhushala. He quotes those lines. Even he has not memorized, is what I feel. But again, coming back to the delivery, that needs to be very important. It is okay to read from your notes in a presentation. It's very okay to read. Even the best speakers do. It's sometimes little difficult because how much the mind can store. You need the paper. But the paper should not be a crutch. The paper should be a supplement. It should be a supporting agent. It should not become a crutch that you are totally dependent on the piece of paper and not trusting yourself. Have I answered your question? I hope so. But a very good question to ask. What is the best way to start a presentation? Like I told you, if you are kind of nervous, if you're going the first time on stage and you feel that, oh my God, I'm forgetting my lines, start with peppy introductions. Start with a personal story. Start with something humorous. Pick up from the environment. Talk about the weather. Best ways to start. I have seen, I'm also a part of Toastmasters, and recently I got voted twice for being the best table topic speaker. So, in situations like that, I have also seen the other good speakers, how they just pick up from the environment. Or if you see one of your friends who was supposed to be there in the presentation but he's not there, you could probably crack a joke, not hurting the person's sentiments, although, but you could crack a joke and just start off with that. So, add humor, take it from the environment. These are some tips you can do to start off with a conversation. Once you let loose, you know the audience is in sync with you. And there you get the real energy and real power to go ahead with it, whatever you have prepared. Thank you. That was a very good question. How do I manage time when giving a speech or presentation? Okay, now this comes with a little bit of practice. So, actually, when you write and when you speak, there is a hell lot of a difference. When we write 5 pages, we are thinking, oh my God, we have prepared 5 pages. But actually, when you speak, it may not be even 5 minutes. So that comes with practice. When you practice more, you will know that you will reach almost the exact time. It may not be the exact 30 minutes or 40 minutes that you wanted, but it could be the approximate time. That itself is good enough. That itself is good enough. But that you will only be able to do with practice. Whatever content you write, the more you practice it, the more you will know the exact time and how much to add or how much to delete. Now, what happens even with the best speakers is nobody can say that 30 minutes was given to me and I finished my talk in 30 minutes exact. Now, that needs a lot of precision and a lot of practice. But without that, also, there are many, many, many good speakers. Tony Robbins is my guru, one of the best motivational speakers, not one of the best, he is the best motivational speaker in the world. But even the best speakers, when they go with that flow of emotion, when they resonate with the audience, time is something which is there at the back of our minds, but it actually does not work out like that. But at the same time, they're also very conscious that they don't shoot the time that is given to them. If 30 minutes is given to them, it could probably go till 40 minutes, but they won't make it like 1 hour 30 minutes. So that kind of time sense they also have because they are very, very good speakers. So you can manage time only with practice. This requires a lot of practice because then you will reach a zone of having the approximate time, if not the exact time. That was also a very interesting question. What's the best way to put my audience at ease? Start off by saying, I'm just one among you. Like you're wondering how I am on stage, I'm also wondering how many people are going to listen to me. Start off on that ease note. And again, personal stories really work wonders. You have no clue when you're telling a personal story to someone how that person in the audience is taking it. I can tell you one example that happened to me a few years back. This was the year 2016 or 17. I do not clearly remember. I was a teacher in a very reputed school in Bangalore, and I used to teach grade 5 and 6 English. There was this one girl in my class who became the youngest author in Guinness Book. Her name is Shraddha Angiras, and she's written 2 books. And what motivated her to write the book is something which is amazing that I would like to share with you. That is, I used to like her creative writing. I used to give her nice comments. I would also tell her, work on this, work on that. When she wrote her book and I edited the book, she came and told me, you know what, ma'am, your comments inspired me to write a book. The way you wrote your comments, I had no clue I was making such an impact on that child. And mind you, she has very good command over language. But the fact that her good command over language turned into a book and she became an author in that process, trust me, I had no clue that I was doing this kind of a wonderful thing to the child till the child told me about this. That, ma'am, I still have your books of grade 5 and 6. I still go through your comments, what you wrote for me. I mean, like you're asking me how to put your audience at ease, you never know how you are putting them at ease. That is the beauty of this public speaking thing. Even if one person in the audience feels, oh my God, if this person can do it, I too can do this, that's where you have connected with that person. Intellectually, emotionally, you have connected with that person. Like from the story that I had to tell you now. And it's amazing. You have no idea how much power you have within yourself. That's what I said, the power of self belief. We have no idea what impact we are making on the other person, how that person is able to see that one thing which aligns with his or her thought, and from then on their journey becomes totally different. So yes, one of the ways is you connect them with a personal story, because that is the best you can do to put the audience at ease. And not only at ease, you're also inspiring them, my dear friend, you're also inspiring them in the process. How do I find out if my speech or presentation was effective? The behavior of the audience. That's good enough to resonate with your question. You may even sometimes get standing ovations from suddenly from the middle of the audience. Some people, they just like certain things so much they can just stand up and clap for you. You have no clue. I mean, you don't have the control over the audience. But if you see that they are not looking at you, they're checking their mobiles frantically, and they are not paying attention, and they're discussing with each other, then you're not pulling their attention. At the same time, if you see them looking at you, smiling at you, giving it back in the same smile that you are offering them, and sometimes even they stand up and give you a standing ovation, and they're clapping for you, and they're asking you questions like how you are asking me questions now. If you can do these things, put in all the puzzle pieces into one complete frame, your presentation was very effective. Even though sometimes the content can differ from what you have spoken, you could go and tell a different language altogether. The content points could be the same, but you could go and tell a different in a different way altogether. You are still connected to your audience, and you are still making that impact, and you are still inspiring many who are silently thinking, yes, I too am ready to take this journey. Have I answered your question? I hope so. So, thank you very much, dear friends, for your patient listening. And I hope you have picked up some really valuable tips. And all those people who are now thinking of venturing into your public speaking journey, remember the golden rule, the power of self belief. Just do it, and you will be at it. And at the same time, practice and practice to present it really well. Thank you so much, everyone, for this wonderful opportunity, and see you again.